Hi everyone, this is Freddie with Superbike Unlimited, and today we're going to introduce another project that is actually going to be a little bit of a different, sort of a change of pace, I guess you could say, for our channel. Many of you know us for Superbike builds, and then more recently Supermoto, which we're just absolutely fanatical about. We love our KTM 450. Well, we've been trying to find something fun because we'd wanted to do a cool street project. We did the 690 a little while back. Some of you guys may remember that. I liked it, but I always thought that bike, as a guy that rides a Superbike on the track, there were certain things about it that I felt it was lacking. In part, the rev range I didn't love, especially compared to our Supermoto or our Superbike stuff. They rev much higher. The 690, I felt like I was on the limiter all the time. And for that reason, we've been trying to think, what would be a cool street project? Like, we want to get out and ride with some of the community, build something neat. And a guy that I love turning laps with on the Supermoto at the track, and that we've done some work with here at the shop on a suspension and stuff, TJ Bradley recommended a KTM 890 Duke R. I probably said that out of order, but you get the idea. 890R Duke, whatever that is. And so we gave our good friends over at Eurosport Asheville, who we've gotten all of our KTMs through and any BMW stuff that we need, and they just so happened to have a 2022 that had just showed up, and we went and picked it up. Here it is. So that's a brand new KTM 890R, and this thing is actually just a really cool bike. KTM, another thing that really kind of set the fire was KTM on their Instagram posted a photo of a couple of these that are kind of like track prepped, and they just look so sweet. And we've had a couple in here on the dyno and done some work for some customers, and we know this bike is actually surprisingly powerful, and also that this base, this chassis and motor and presumably ECU and such are the actual basis of that really cool track only bike that KTM recently released, the RC8R or RC8C, whatever it's called. This is what that bike is based on. So yeah, you know what, we want to do something different, and this is going to be it. We're going to, of course, we're going to be continuing with our R1 project. This is just going to be something that's kind of something different for us here at the shop. We want to learn more about this bike, and we want to just have a fun toy that we can interact with the community with. And so the first step, it felt, I actually just rode it back from the dealership, which is a trip because it's been a long time since I've done something like that. And it feels really fun. It feels nice and responsive, but it felt a little on the heavy side. So that's one thing right away. We're gonna see how much this bike weighs, and then of course we're gonna do the SBU stuff and try to figure out where can we start shaving weight. I think there's probably a lot to be found on this motorcycle. So we're gonna start off. Let's see what it weighs in at. We've got the 1% scales out. Texas got everything ready. We're gonna roll them on and see where we're at. Yep. All right, so Texas got this guy balanced up, and I will say this thing has a full tank of fuel. It just came straight from the dealer. They have it fully topped off. And our starting weight, 408 pounds. And we can do our weight distribution deal. How do you do that? There we go. So it's almost a 50-50 weight distribution, just slightly off of that. So pretty evenly balanced motorcycle. And yeah, now we're going to start right away. I want to hack away at this, and these weights got to come off. We're going to start just taking stuff off. A lot of stuff that can come off, and then we'll do the SBU treatment and see what else we can find. All right, everybody, so it's a new day. We're going to be chipping away a little bit more at this guy. As you can see, we've done a little bit off camera, nothing too exciting. We basically just took these bolts out on either side and removed this grab bar or whatever you want to call it. It's actually surprisingly pretty light. It's like a composite sort of material, like a plastic. So that probably weighs a pound or less. This guy is pretty heavy. We took this off. This is the left side passenger peg. It weighs probably around 3 pounds. And those were T45s, and I think it was T40s on the backside. So T45, T40. Went ahead and popped those off. We have a ton of stuff on order, so this was kind of a quick decision to grab this thing because Eurosport only had one of these things. I'm sure many of you know that availability is really difficult right now on new motorcycles. So we wanted to just go ahead and grab this. Sometimes we'll try to build up some components before we get it. And some of the stuff we're not even sure which direction we're going to go quite yet. I have some ideas about certain upgrades. I don't want to say too much yet because we're not kind of undecided, but there are a couple things we're going to do right away. We're going to upgrade the brake pads. Right now, I love SBS pads, and I like Vezra pads a lot as well. We've got Vezra pads in stock for this bike, so I'm going to slap a set of those on. We don't want the other pad compound to bed in to the rotor, so what we're going to do is go ahead and pop on some of the XX compound, and this uses the 9031 pad shape, so we're going to use that. The other really obvious one, we're going to pop one of these bad boys in. This is, oh, that's not my battery, that's customer battery, but we're going to put a YLP10 in the bike. That's an easy way to shed a tremendous amount of weight. We're going to pull the original one out, see what it weighs, and I'm actually going to see what it is. The stock one might be a 14. If so, I'm still probably going to put a 10 in there because I think it's more than adequate for this bike, but that'll probably shed 5 or 6 pounds right off the bat. So, and then the quest continues. I'd love to figure out a way to creatively remove ABS without screwing with the electronics on the bike. We had an issue on the 690 where we really couldn't find a clever way to get rid of that stuff without hacking up the stock ABS pump. I didn't want to do that on this one just because they're expensive for one, and if we ever wanted to revert back for, say, a future owner of this motorcycle, I don't really want to destroy that piece. So that might be something that we explore, but we've got a whole bunch of really cool stuff on the way, so more on that later. All right, so I mentioned we were going to do the battery. It's kind of the end of the day here, but I'm going to try to get this knocked out before anything, and then we're going to, basically, I'm going to ride this bike this weekend and just do a little bit of a street break-in, which I'll probably be able to do pretty similarly to our dyno stuff, maybe not as precise, but good enough. And so we're not gonna have most of the stuff that we want to put on this thing by this weekend, so it's going to be just basically a stock style ride with some brake pads and a battery. So first up, let's see, this is the stock battery right here, and you can see, I mean, obviously it's a big bastard. So that's a 12 amp battery. This is a 10 amp. I think it's going to be fine. We're just going to go with that. So original battery, 7 pounds 11 ounces. Alliant battery, 1 pound 8.5 ounces. So that's, I mean, these are $160, and that is a 5 pound reduction, well, really a 6 pound reduction, just like that. So, and frankly, I think it's going to be a better battery for this thing, especially if you were to put a 14. Technically, you'd still have about a 6 pound reduction, and it would be more cranking power, but I think this is going to be more than enough, and saves a couple of bucks and a couple ounces. So that's what we're going to go with. Next, I'm going to pop this guy in here and see how it fits compared to the original. Obviously, it's much smaller. When you use these, got some stuff over here. They come with a bunch of foam, and you're going to want to use that to try to make sure the thing's not banging around in there. You don't want the battery kind of moving around freely inside that box. So I'll stuff some of that foam in there to make sure that it's nice and secure. Okay, so change of plans. Upon looking at that, I actually think we have another battery that's going to fit in that little tray perfectly, and that's going to be this guy. This is an Alliant YLP09B. These are actually a battery that we started carrying because it's a perfect fit for a V4R Ducati, so it should have more than enough power to crank this thing. But as you can see, it's a really kind of an odd shape. But you look at that, perfectly spaced in terms of width. Obviously, it's a bit narrower, but that's going to be a better option. And if you look at that, it actually weighs a little bit less. So this is going to be the guy that we go with. All right, so what you can see here, we're going to pull this up so you can see the battery. Grab those techs. So that's our battery in there, and as you can see, it's literally a perfect fit other than height, which is fine. We got to use the foam. It's going to be a little wacky because we've got some serious height going on there, but that's kind of the idea here. We're going to just secure that with the bracket. This is actually bolted down, and then we're just going to basically bolt it down like it was stock. That should keep the vibration out of everything, and it's got enough tension on it that I don't think that foam's going to go anywhere. All right, guys, Freddie here, of course, and in traditional SBU fashion, we're bringing you the absolute best moto vlog content. In this case, got a bunch of parts in. They're pretty much all installed. You didn't get to see any of that. That's largely my fault, unfortunately, and I'm sorry in advance. The reason for that is that today we're helping a pro flat track team. I'll actually show you these bikes. Really nice looking KTMs, right on brand, and I've spent the whole day on the dyno and most of yesterday working on these things. So here's a few of them right here. These are part of an AFT program, and we're doing the Taipan ECUs on these, and it's been chewing up some time the last couple of days, so I'm sorry I didn't get to show you guys the some of the process on the 890 here, but we're going to show you some of it right now before I give these guys a bit of a hand and show them some of the process of the Taipan. So the some of the goodies that have come in already are these foot controls, which, as you can see, still need to be kind of set up, but man, those are so much nicer looking than the stock ones. Holy crap, that's just a massive improvement. And then this beaut, of course, we had to go with the Evolution full titanium exhaust system for this bike. We do have some baseline numbers for the bike, so, and there's an official KTM update we're going to try. And then after that, there's an alternative tuning solution that we have. So we're going to try both and just see which one's better. But for now, this is, yeah, I mean, that's just so much nicer. And we're going to do a weigh-in and see what kind of weight difference. And you can see this really cool bracket that Tex has made here that's going to be our tag and rear tail light bracket. And that basically just replaced that big ugly bastard that was on there before. This is a Zeta, I think, Phantom taillight that we had in stock, so just using some of the stuff that we have here. Tex is really handy with that kind of stuff. All right, so Tex has wrapped up this install, and we're just going to do some, I'm going to sit on it in a minute and get the ergos right, and then we'll finalize the foot peg positions. Certainly a big improvement over those ugly stockers. It'd be cool to see how much less it weighs. And what Tex is working on right now, as you can see, is he's got some crimping hardware here and some pins that we ordered. And basically what we're doing is we're just going to make this new tail light setup plug and play. We don't want to be hacking into stock stuff, so we had the correct connector and pins here to emulate the stock setup.
Cheat sheet.
Yep, and Tex is really handy with this stuff, so he's made a diagram of the connector and laid out wire colors and respective functions. And what is this? Actually, that's probably not function, is it? That's referencing.
This is wire color, yellow, red, black, and this is function, ground, running light, and brake.
Oh, there we go. And once he does this, he can install these pins into this connector, as shown. That's just a freshie there, just like the stock one. And normally when we do this, we have to try it a few times, because when we turn the key on, smoke starts coming out and there's sparks that'll fly out. You just keep trying until it stops doing that. So it can take a long time. You got 6 holes there, so there's a lot of combinations. Only kidding, of course. Hopefully, and these are not, to be honest, we don't really love this kind of connector because the quality is, shall we say, less than what we prefer with, we're used to using auto sports and stuff like that. Obviously this is not that, but on the other hand, this is a really cheap setup. Look at that, plug and play. We're good to go now, I think. Will you grab the brake lever, Tex? Look at that. Wow, so much nicer looking from the side than the stock one. I guess we should probably hear what this thing sounds like. We haven't started it yet, so. Much nicer. That's a lot nicer. So this weekend, obviously, plans are going to change a little bit. I get to ride the bike in this state, which is going to be a lot more fun. So we're going to, like I mentioned, we're going to try the official map first. I'm going to swing by Eurosport Asheville tomorrow. They've promised this is relatively quick, so they're going to try to squeeze me in to get this knocked out. And from there, we'll go do some ripping in the mountains. And I may try to get some footage of that. If not, for sure in the future. All right, so now that this is mocked up, you can kind of see, Tex pointed out, we're probably going to have to angle this a bit because there's not a lot of distance between the bottom of it and the back of the tire there. So we're going to probably put a few degrees of bend in that just to get it away. I think it'll look better anyway. And of course, Tex pointed out that that was actually an insert that was in there that was removable. So we pulled that out, and I think it sounds a lot nicer now. It was good before, but we don't need no quiet insert. Much better. All right, so for this first round of upgrades, we're going to do another updated weigh-in. Of course, we were at 410 before. The bike has not had any other thing that's going to affect the weight, just some titanium bolts, and of course the stuff you've seen bolted on. Our new weight is 384, so that's like 26 pounds. That's awesome. That's going to make a huge difference in this thing. So it's going to be cool to see where we can end up. I think there's several more pounds to go. We've got a lot of stuff left, but I think we could maybe get this thing well into the 370s. I got some ideas. All right, so I think that's going to do it for this first KTM 890 video. We've got a whole bunch of upgrades coming up on the second one, which is going to be dropping pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. But we're really excited about this bike. It's got a lot of potential, so we appreciate you watching this first video. Hope you enjoyed it. I know it's a little different than the normal stuff that we're doing, but it's a super cool bike, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So we'll see you next time.